Good afternoon. Here are some flower pins that I make. I make them out of vintage fabrics and vintage earrings or vintage jewelry parts. They are made out of lace and they're really fun. Let's try it. So I start off with some random fabrics that I think are going to go good together. I like to use thin fabrics. I like a lot of vintage stuff. Sometimes this really sheer fabrics is really nice. 2 different colors of beiges if I wanted to. And then I have also gauze would work as well. So we're going to get started. What I do is I take my fabrics and I cut them into little squares. And when I do, it's easier for me to take the piece of fabric that is a square and make it into a circle really easy by trimming off these corners to make a circle out of square. Notice they're not perfect. They could be ovalish or really good round, but just random. Random is better. All right, when I have a whole bunch of these, and you notice I cut a whole bunch at the same time, they're about 4 inches. Some of them are as small as 3 inches, and they're like this. Occasionally, if I get lucky, I find little doilies that are already made. These are so great to layer into something after I make the flowers, but I will show you that. So I have a whole bunch of flowers that I've already cut, and I'll show you how I do those. So I made on a piece of paper the circle. So this is basically my pattern for this. I'll take these and I will fold them in half, and when I'm cutting them, I'm going to cut the corners off like so. Right like that, and right like that. So there we go, that one. And then I'm going to cut 2 lines straight up in this thing. Cut straight up here and straight up here. Okay. And then if you notice these marks, I'm going to cut around, okay, to make my petals. I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to do that again on the other side. So cutting straight up here, curving each off, it's just easier for me. Notice some of these are not perfect. Some of them are squared off. If you feel like it, you can go back in and just trim that little edge. So totally random and great, because the more imperfect, the better it will be. So then I start taking these and I layer them on, and notice I'm going back and forth with the layers so that each one of them I'm showing a little bit like that. Let's get a dark one in here because that'll look really good. And like I said, 4-inch squares, circles, and then sort of like 3-inch. Let's just do one more of these in here, like this one. Okay. So I have 2 methods of attaching these together. Sometimes I use the sewing machine, and sometimes I use hot glue. If I did not have a sewing machine, I would probably just use hot glue. So let's get going. Pull my machine forward and show you. So when I'm folding this, I do not fold it directly in half. I only fold it a little bit. So I'm going to sew a little bit of straight line down here, and I do not have to backstitch or anything because it won't really matter with this. Okay, so you see that? Then I'm going to open the flower here, and I'm going to fold it again this way. So I'm going to be making almost like a little T, and I'm just going to take a few stitches. Okay, just like that. Okay, and then here it looks like a little T. You have the cross here and then the cross there. Okay, that's how I do it. It kind of mushes the flower up on the back. All right, so there is that one. This is the one that I've sewn. So I'm going to take another one, just a little grouping. And I think I'll take two of these little pink ones together. And then a flower one. How about one of these pink ones? Still layering them. And then a nice one of these. Okay. All right, so here is this. If I'm going to hot glue this, I have to start with that bottom one. And I will take so I'll put a little glue in the center. Add the next one on. Making sure I'm just not putting it perfect. And then just kind of squish her up. Okay. Okay. Just gives it a little bunch in the middle. Start again. Another little dot. Another flower. Hold it into place so that it gives it a little scrunch in there. The last two. And one more. I'm going to hold this last one a little bit longer, just so they all kind of glue together. Don't burn yourself. Okay, there we go. All right, so they're both done. Oh, don't follow me now. Okay, there we go. So the next thing I'm going to do is to pick out something to put in the center. And I always hit yard sales, estate sales, and I find random earrings. These were old 1950s kind of earrings, break off the back, especially if there's only one piece. You can use parts of them. Totally cool and great. Little pins are great, but totally can put any of those in there. The other item that I use in these is beads. Beads are great for just randomly putting in the centers too. So I have these 3 beads I'll put in one, and then this little, I think this was like a little shoe clip, totally great. And I will stick that in there. Okay, so with this, I'm just going to glue this one there. And I think I'm going to put this guy in here because I really like that. Just get him hooked in there. Okay, and then this one I'm going to put, when I'm doing beads, I like to at least do 3. I think that looks good. You could use as many as you wanted, but 3 seems to work for me. And there we go. You know what, that glue is, there we go. I like it. All right, letting those dry. So the next thing we're going to do is to put the pin back on. These I just got from Joann's when it was still in business. Or you can get them from Michael's, order them off of Amazon. They're just a regular little pin back. I usually leave them closed. I'll flip this over, put some glue, and stick the pin back on. These would be great if you were doing a show, like a craft show, and you needed some quick little things that will sell really good. You could put them on a card, or stick them in a bowl, and I think they would fly off the shelf. Make these. Church Bazaar would be great if you wanted to do that. There we go. Putting the back on there. And so cute. So what else could you do with these cute flowers? Well, I took something like this. Notice this lace is just kind of hanging off there. I took one of these and did bridesmaid belts, and I did just a long ribbon. I attached these to the bridesmaids belts. I think the Maid of Honor had like 3 in a row on hers, but they were all this cream color. It was so totally cute. If I wanted to, I could take these same things and stick them on a pillow. I wouldn't put the pin back on, but I would put tons of them random on a pillow. I think they'd look great. What about if you did bright colors and did them on a little girl's headband? That would be another great idea to do for these. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully you will like and subscribe and see what I'm going to come up with next.